Hello and welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined by my counterpart who's got some Wi-Fi cooking today, Mr. Bo Brock. How we doing, Bo?
I got some Wow Light Citrus Ale from Four Peaks that I'm going to enjoy during the show. We got Frank just making a ton of noise down there. He's ready to roll. What's up, Frank Sanders?
What's up, brothers? I tried to get to the office today, the studio, so I can pick up me some of that luscious and delicious, cool, refreshing Four Peaks tower of beer that we have down there, and I got rejected. so rejected.
They wouldn't let my man into the building.
Bullshit.
Yeah, you know what? We're not gonna keep it down today. We'll all be back in studio soon. But today we're remote. We're still hanging. We're putting a cap on minicamp for the Arizona Cardinals as it relates to just this quickie, 3-4 day series of practices. And turns out there was a lot of news that came from this week. And I was messaging Bo before the show today, and I said, do we want to continue to harp on the Rodney Hudson situation? We want to be able to put a positive spin or a positive bow on this week, Mr. Bo Brock. But, Bo, you came up with the idea, well, let's talk about what the Cardinals need to do ahead of training camp, because now they've got upwards of, 45 days off, right, to get their mind right before you kick it into high gear until, goodness, next February with the start of training camp at the end of July. So, Bo, what are we doing? Are we drafting here priorities for the Arizona Cardinals before training camp, a pre-training camp to-do list of some kind?
I don't think we're drafting. I mean, you can put it in draft form. That's fine. I'd be game for that. But just ranking what we prioritize or what we think the organization should prioritize the next month and a half before things get real, before guys just they have to lock in for the next 6 months through January, February, hopefully for the Arizona Cardinals. So, what should the Arizona Cardinals with this last grasp, this little last dash before training camp? I think, during a slow off season, as things seemed like they were trending in the right direction. And now, with one big news story headline that Rodney Hudson was absent, unexcused absence from training camp, what do they need to prioritize? Because, that wasn't the only, center's not the only glaring need right now. I mean, they had needs before. Do we still view the needs that we thought of before as, the top priority? And of course, there's a big contract extension that might find its way onto our list as well.
A priority list for this podcast is to maybe get Frank Sanders some new Wi-Fi. He's been kicked off the show abruptly. We hope to have Frank back here momentarily. So, Bo, let's kick this off. Let's get things going. I'm happy to start. I feel like I always go last in our drafts or our priority list. So I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say that the Arizona Cardinals, first things first. I'm not going to say it is a Kyler Murray extension because I believe that's going to get done. I'm going to say the first thing the Arizona Cardinals need to do is they need to go out and reconnect with Rodney Hudson. I think you send Cliff Kingsbury to his house. I think you send Kyler Murray to his house, Justin Pugh, the entire offensive line. Find a way to make this work. A last-ditch effort, because you have to know what the status is of Rodney Hudson even before training camp to see if you need to make a move, right? And so the first thing I'm doing is I'm talking to Michael Bidwell. We're firing up the private jet, right? I'm getting about a group of about 7 to 10 guys, the entire starting offensive line, Kyler and Cliff and Sean Kugler. We're going to Rodney's house, and I'm going to knock on the door and say, Rodney, are you playing ball with us this year or not? Are you going to try to win a championship with us or not? We got to know now, because you're a huge part of what we want to do in our success. I'm doing mini camp wraps this week. I'm firing up the private jet this weekend. We're going to Rodney's house.
Mike. Let's go.
That's right. So that is my top priority right now.
Yeah, that's fire up the PJ, get his closest friends. I like what you said. I think your offensive leaders, Kyler Murray. Let's even add DeAndre Hopkins to this group of guys. Cliff Kingsbury. I like Kugler.
The elites. Yeah.
And then like we found out this week, like guys who have talked to Rodney Hudson, guys who were, Hudson was at Justin Pugh's bachelor party and he was in his wedding. And, Pugh's like, he's being, the best friend. He's like, we don't talk football. He's like, okay, but now it's time to talk football. Like this is all hands on deck. This is like all, the sirens are firing. We need you to talk football with your guy and get him excited about playing football and get him excited, Frank Sanders, about collecting that $10 million this season and protecting Kyler Murray, because I completely agree. I think that's priority numero uno as far as the Arizona Cardinals go this offseason. You got to get your starting center loving the game, maybe even like missing the game. Give him a little to take away from the kids these days, guys, FOMO, that he's going to miss out on something special if he doesn't return in 2022.
Rodney's in a good spot, man. I'm telling you guys. I feel like this is the veteran process where, he can decide if he wants to come back. The $10 million would be special contractually, but in reality, this guy's got to fill out his body. I just really believe he's pulling a vet move. No one likes it. Of course, it doesn't look good, but I think that no one wants to do training camp. I don't care how laid back it is or how fun it feels. If you feel like it's not something that you want to be a part of, then you're okay with taking the fine. I think that Rodney's probably in that position. When you say a player is not talking to another player about, what's going on and getting him ready for the season, JV, you know what's going on? They already know that this guy's kind of maybe hit or miss, but they know he's coming back. We just don't talk NFL business. I won't tell you unless I know that, hey, you're not coming. I need you to come. I'll beg you to come, but you'll say, hey, man, I'm working this thing out. But you got to play your role. And I think Rodney's playing his role like, hey, I don't know if I want to play no more. I don't know. And then you got to have a mental, the NFL gives you that mental gap where your mental health is important. So you have to have a gap where, you got to refresh and make sure you really want to do this.
So we all agree, Rodney Hudson, that's a top priority. Bo, do you have something else on your to-do list for Mr. Steve Keim ahead of late July?
Frank, was that your number one priority as well?
No, heck no.
Okay.
That was not my number one priority. I thought I was
that's my number one priority.
Oh, that's showing. I don't care about that Rodney Hudson stuff. Sorry, guys. I don't care about the Rodney Hudson. He's fine in my book. My number one thing on my list is that Cliff Kingsbury leaves and he goes back and he gets refreshed. He gets revitalized. He gets reinvigorated that he's going to do something special, that he's going to change the mentality of the NFL and himself, that he's bigger and better than just a 12-game coach. He has to be bigger and better than that. 3 in the preseason, 8 in the regular season. He has to be better than that. He has to figure out what players and what coaches have figured out about him and his offense and how they figure out how to stop him. He has to figure it out. You said you're gone. We won't see you for 30 days. Bye, Cliff. Please go. Go to the mountains. Go sit in Buddha's land. Go smoke herbs next to some guy in Jamaica named Ja. Do whatever you got to do. Just please come back with an answer for the last half of the season. If you do that, call my boy at OGs. Let's get you some stuff because you need to figure out what the last half of your life and regarding to the NFL needs to be like. You're the catalyst to how far we go and what we do. If Cliff does that, he's my number one priority on who needs something, what we need to be done, and how far we can go if he gets himself in the right mental space.
If that's an Eddie Murphy bit, you got to keep your Instagram model girlfriend away from Jacques. That's for damn sure.
It's true. Very true.
I mean, he said he's getting out of the country, and I think it's time for the coach to refresh his batteries and get those back to full energy, and take all the stuff that he said he went through college tape and he was looking at different offensive schemes and stuff like that and how he's going to apply it. But man, we're now seeing the slump at the end of the season even transcend the regular season, and now the Arizona Cardinals slumped this off season. Like they need to turn things around right now.
That's putting it lightly, I think.
Right? I mean, this Rodney Hudson thing, I mean, that's the equivalent of losing a couple games right there at the end of the season. So yeah, they need to figure things out. They got to get things trending in the right direction. And that's where my priority 2 comes in. It's fine. That's putting ink to paper on a Kyler Murray mega extension. I think you do that, it starts to get the wheels going. It's like a true show of them buying in, pushing all their chips into the middle of the table as far as Kyler Murray, him, the franchise quarterback. All the guys in that locker room will believe even more so, even though I think they believe already now. But once you lock him into a 4, 5, 6 year extension, they're going to believe it. He's going to believe it. And he's even probably going to feel like, hey, I do have to take on more of a leadership role. I got to take this a little bit more serious now. I'm not making, what's he making this year? Like $2.5 million, $5 million, $10 million. He's going to be making $40 million. So get him, in that mindset that this is his team. And people also believe like his word is going to hold a little bit more weight. So when he goes to Rodney and says, let's come back, it's like, okay, let's go. You're my ride or die.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm not going to be prisoner of the moment with the Kyler Murray scenario. I would put it on my list, but I'm also going to reprioritize something else here because if I'm Steve Keim, if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, over the course of OTAs, minicamp, I've gotten a look at my pass rush or the lack thereof, right? And so before the start of training camp, I'm going to go out and I'm going to trade for a pass rusher. I'm going to go and flip the Chicago Bears a fourth and maybe a conditional future fourth for pass rusher Robert Quinn. So I can say in training camp, hey guys, we don't have to rely on these 2 third-round rookies. We don't have to rely on Devon Kennard, who is best served to be a backup, a special teamer. Marcus Golden, we love him, right? But he's a 1B to a 1A. And you get Robert Quinn in the house, somebody that knows Sean McVay, the LA Rams, how they operate. You get him in this defensive line with J.J. Watt. I think it's the injection of energy and enthusiasm that you need defensively right now because I'm looking at this defense, gentlemen, and I don't know how you can say anything other than it's regression time for Vance Joseph in year 4. I just don't think they have enough players. They have enough dogs. We talked about it all offseason. We're the dogs on the defensive line. We're the dogs in the front 7. I've got bad press coming out with Zaven Collins. I've got Isaiah Simmons in the secondary. Zach Allen's coming off surgery. J.J. Watt's 100 years old. Like, okay, let's go get a proven commodity. I saw a picture of Chandler Jones today in his Raider uniform doing like a photo shoot. It made me want to throw up. And I said, I want my all-star, all-pro pass rusher back. So I'm going to go steal the Bears, who have no business housing that man on their team for a 4 or 5 win team. So Kyler Murray is a priority, but after what I just saw at minicamp, if I'm Steve Keim, I'm like, I need an edge rusher. And this guy, Robert Quinn, had 18.5 sacks for a bad Chicago defense last year.
Johnny, I like where you went with that. That's a good pick. I do. I think that is the conversation that needs to happen this in these next couple 30 days, that we go get somebody that can help our defensive line. I'm just going to run a little bit back. I'm going to run it back a little bit with my man, Bo. And Bo said they need to sign, Kyler Murray. What I think outside of that, before they sign Kyler Murray, I think they need to rebrand him. I think they need to figure a way to rebrand and remarket my boy Kyler Murray, because this entire offseason has been a joke. He has been a punching bag across the board. Everyone says, pay this man, give him his money. It's still dragging on to this day, and we're moving close to July and getting ready to training camp. Conversations on will he be at minicamp? Will he be at OTAs? Will he be at? Now we try to figure out will he be at mandatory camp? Now the question becomes, will he even be at training camp if you don't get him signed before then? But this is the problem. Across the board, he's been a punching bag since January, and some of that JV has been right. He deserved it because it didn't look good. But in reality, we have a star-studded quarterback. You're getting ready to pay this guy $40 to $50 million. You need to make sure that you get this guy in a mental headspace that question mark leaves the table. And you don't want to go into the season thinking that you have a quarterback you just overpaid for no effing reason. So that's the part that I think that mental, you need to wash our minds of the images of Kyler Murray, justify why he's worth $40 million. Say that the 3 years and 11,000 yards and the 70 touchdowns and the 20 rushing touchdowns is the greatest thing since Jesus turned water into wine. You need to do that. If the Cardinals figure out how to market and brand him, then I would be just as happy with both that they sign him, because then you would have put an image out there of why he's worthy of that money.
Guys killing the chat today. Elon Musk agreeing with you, saying Kyler needs he also needs new threads, as we saw the Saints unveil their alternate black helmet. Looks nice. Brother Noomsy, he says that Ben Neiman and Josh Jackson signed today. That was officially made. The 2 guys that were in mandatory minicamp. So, Johnny, don't worry about the defense. Former second-round bust out of Iowa is here to save the secondary. And Ben Neiman, who I don't even know if he started for the Chiefs during his career.
Sure, he started 2 games last year.
Oh, y'all are terrible.
Ben Neiman's here to play 3 downs, every defensive
Ben Neiman, I think he does my taxes. I don't think he plays football. I think he's tax
Here's what
attorney.
I'll say about I like the Josh Jackson because obviously low risk, reclamation project. A guy who is a prospect. I remember Josh Jackson because he was the same. It was right after the Suns drafted Josh Jackson out of Kansas, and I'm like, the Cardinals could be in on a guy named Josh Jackson. That's kind of odd. He even had like a first round grade at one point, and then he went to Green Bay and he did absolutely nothing in this league.
Yeah.
Bounced around a little bit, and we see him show up yesterday at mandatory minicamp and tryout form, and he gets signed today. But that's why this is where my third priority comes, and it's not the pass rush. I do agree, and I hear what Damian Anderson says on a regular basis on the show, that front seven is really going to help out a pedestrian or secondary with some questions in it. But I think you have to add a veteran to this defensive secondary. You have to add a corner that knows the angles, that knows has all the bag of tricks. And what are we doing as far as Robert Alford? Bring back Alf right now. We see him playing on Twitter with JJ Watt. We see him playing as far as, when he hears Cliff Kingsbury say, hey, we're going to check in on Alf and this could be a possibility. Let's just do it. Bring back Robert Alford for, the 18th time in the last couple seasons. Get him signed. I think that immediately, helps out the secondary. He was your best cornerback, for the first 10 games of the season. And one of those very under the radar storylines was the defensive secondary struggled mightily without Robert Alford there. Bring him back. I think he's a guy that can vie for some starting time and continue to give Marco Wilson, an appropriate timeline as far as how his development goes.
Love that play. I think that is mandatory after mandatory minicamp is to get Robert Alford back in the secondary. With all due respect to Josh Jackson, please no, I don't want to see you near the starting lineup by any stretch of the imagination until it's absolutely necessary. The Cardinals like to hoard top picks on the practice squad on the bottom of their 53-man. Robert Alford was the glue to the secondary last year. Kudos to him. He came back. He signed that mega deal once upon a time after he was with the Atlanta Falcons. Couldn't stay healthy. Came back, was a determined player on a veteran minimum contract. And as Kiro saying in the chat, he was our highest graded corner and for a reason. So you have to bring him back. I think that's a no-brainer. And if you're Robert, it's like you've already spent 3 years here. What options do you have? You know the defense. It's a sliding kind of scenario. Let's run it back with him. I like that move. I'm going to go a different direction. I'm going to stay up front on the front seven, gentlemen. There's a certain defensive tackle that's available that was a member of the Cincinnati Bengals last year en route to the Super Bowl that had 7 sacks. I don't know if you guys know where I'm going with this. He's from New Jersey. His name's Larry Ogunjobi, and he is a free agent defensive tackle. He's 28 years old. The Bengals are keeping his jersey available if he wants to come back, his jersey number available if he wants to come back to Cincinnati. If I'm Steve Keim and I look at the state of my defensive line, we talked about the pass rush being susceptible to injuries and very vanilla, right? Well, this young man was a third rounder for the Cleveland Browns, hit his stride with Cincinnati last year, probably wants more money than he should. If I'm Steve Keim, give him a bloated 1-year contract. Your defensive line group right now, Zach Allen, JJ Watt, we love them both, are IR trips waiting to happen. And then what do you have? You've got a bunch of B minus, C plus level guys, and that might be generous, right? I like Michael Dogby. He's a rotational player, 7th rounder. The 2 4th-rounders last year or 2 years ago, they're backups at this point. Their defensive tackle group, we've seen it. Jordan Phillips, bust, right? Darius Philon, bust. They've missed on how many draft picks. They've tried to trade up for SEC defensive linemen. This is a perfect guy to ingratiate in your culture, again, because he's 28 years old. He can do the one thing that none of your other defensive linemen really outside of JJ can do, and that's apply pressure in the passing game. And then now, okay, if he pops for you, he's still young enough at 29 next year, you could extend him. It's one of those things where let's ingratiate him in our culture. He's under 30 years old, and let's extend him. Defensive linemen, they age better than, cornerbacks or running backs. You hit over 30 and they're not worth a shit anymore. I think bring this young man in. He is a top 10 free agent remaining, along with like the Odell Beckhams and the Dante Hightowers of the world. But he fits a position in need. He's under 30 years old. I can't believe you would get rid of Jordan Phillips, free up $10 million, and not immediately want to allocate that into a different defensive lineman. That can really help you.
Yeah, I see what Kiro's saying as far as Zach Allen. Contract year, but here's a guy that said yesterday he had no ligaments in his ankle at the end of last season. He had surgery. He's coming back from surgery, so he's already, going to be on the mend. It says he's going to be ready for training camp, but
I've heard that before.
can you rely on that? I think it's a bit naive, no doubt about it, especially in JJ Watt. I think Rashad Lawrence looked great. I do. I think Rashad Lawrence
at minicamp he did.
Yeah, he did. I thought he looks spry for his size. He looks strong. So, I think Rashad Lawrence is poised to have a solid season, probably his best at the NFL level. But is that going to be enough? Is the rotation going to be enough? Because that's what you have to go with. Just flood the position with numbers. Kingsley Kiki too. Don't forget about Kiki, who they signed.
I did forget about old Kingsley.
I think that they're content with this defensive line.
Content should be the theme of the offseason. It's like, what'd you guys do this offseason? Just the big word. Content. We're content on running it back.
We're content on not contending, right?
Oh, man. Love that.
Hey,
Put that on a T-shirt, PHNX merchandise locker.
You guys are making good points. I think one of the things that somebody said in the chat, of course, and I think you said it, JV, which is that they're going to bring Robert Alford at the training camp, which is great because he's a veteran. He's got his legs, got time and wear on him. And I think that sometimes we look at, and again, I will say this respectfully, that the NFL has 100% changed, both since I played. We were tackling. We had 3-a-days, 2-a-days. We had hot days, wet days. We had a lot of drinking days, a lot of praying days. It didn't matter. It just felt like it never stopped until we got into the regular season. These guys got something different. And I think that when we talk about, I like the fact that JV is really holding the line on regards to our defensive line, because in truth, like what we will see is that when we get to training camp, most of these guys and some of our veterans won't practice. They will barely practice versus each other because of the workload and watching the new NFL system in regards to how these guys, you're trying to protect these guys for just gone from 16 weeks to 17 weeks now.
What have we done as a team to make our run defense better from last offseason?
Nothing.
Can anybody answer that question? Isaiah Simmons moving to the secondary, that doesn't help the run defense. This guy they signed, this free agent, journeyman linebacker, Vigil, he's not helping your run defense, right? I think the only thing you can hope for is J.J. Watt staying healthy and then probably Zaven Collins giving you a bump there. But other than that,
Cameron
what
Thomas
have you done?
wasn't so bad. Cameron Thomas was solid at San Diego
State.
But he rookie. Yeah, I agree. He's going to be an upgrade over Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones.
You think so as a run defender in year one?
Yes.
You think a rookie out of a 1AA school, or maybe
I'm just saying it's like the minor. It's a minor bump. And I see what you say. Can he play inside? He hasn't been practicing with the guys who play inside, but
so he's been playing outside linebacker.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and Marcus Golden wasn't the worst. I think Marcus Golden was pretty solid. He was probably your best edge run defender as far as the Cardinals go. But no, I hear your point. I think that it's valid. I'm just grasping at straws.
Lined up tackle to tackle, and they had two tight ends on the field, which is what Seattle's going to want to do to you, and San Francisco 4 times next year, and they want to run it right at Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins. Like, who's going to stop?
Here's the thing I'll say about that. Here's the thing I'd say about that is they tried that, and those teams went 1-3 against the Cardinals. Sure, they the Seahawks beat their ass in week 17 last year, but
doing that.
But they also had the threat of Russell Wilson, who was finally at full strength last year. In what he's able to do back there. With that, they're not going. It's not going to be effective. That's the scheme, though. What Vance Joseph wants to do is it's going to be high pressure downs on first and second down. He's going to try to create negative plays, and if they get gashed, they're going to get gashed. So they're just going to try to create some negative plays, and they now like the biggest concern would be like, do they have the personnel to play that game? I don't know if they do.
And especially, you have Rodney Hudson now, potentially. I'm just assuming. We're going to assume until he shows up. And you don't have DeAndre Hopkins. You're not going to be able, in my opinion, early on to put pressure on the scoreboard. You're going to be in one-possession games. And again, I like to use the Chicago game as the example. If you go back and watch that game, on the surface, it looks like a blowout. The Chicago Bears ran the ball up and down on the Arizona Cardinals last year. It was only because Andy Dalton gave the ball away 5 times. The Cardinals masked a lot of their issues in the first 10 to 12 games last year with takeaways, right? They did not have a ton of 3-and-outs. They didn't have a bunch of short possessions by the opposing offenses. It was Jimmy Garoppolo giving them the football, and having, poorly timed throws and fumbles against that game in San Francisco last year. when teams limited their turnovers, and you look back at like the Indianapolis game on Christmas Day, it's like Indy didn't really want to turn the ball over that day. They were able to run the ball with Jonathan Taylor, and it got ugly, and they played ball control, and the offense wasn't great. I'm just concerned that, again, and it's something that a lot of the fans have been clamoring about, is like the mirage of the start of last year was done behind MVP play of Kyler Murray, which is legitimate, right? But he's going to be missing potentially 2 of his better players, and then a defense that took advantage because of turnovers, and that is not sustainable. That, I mean, like, you cannot rely on getting 3 turnovers a game as a defense. You just can't.
I think when we look at what we have right now, I'm going to have to go with Bo and what he said, JV, on regards to the fact that it seems like this just the players we got is basically the scheme you're getting ready to run. And that seems like this is, I remember that when we played Ole Miss back in the days at Auburn, they called this defense called the Celtic. And basically most guys stood up, 2 guys was on one hole, on one side of the ball, 1 guy was on the other side. They just moved around so much to try to confuse the defense. I can't say that's what VJ wants to do. Will that defense stop the run? Probably not. At the end of the day, if you gave up 235 yards rushing and walked away with a W 17 times, would you be mad? The stats would be bad. Fantasy football would be shitty. You'd be definitely you'd be horrified every day, every time you went to the game. But in reality, it just looks like the players that we got typically dictate the scheme you're going to run. And I think right now, looking at our players, these guys are probably more mobile, agile. They're not beefy. They're not fat. CP, Corey Peters, he's not there no more. Jordan Phillips, he's not there. Big body guy sitting in the middle, what we thought we had.
Jordan Hicks isn't there either.
Hicks, right. And so those are the things that cause us to feel like right now, our run defense has not been addressed right now. But I don't think that's the thing that's the focal point. I think we're looking at a scheme and a scheme that VJ might come up with his coaches that puts them in a position where they're going to be more, they're trying to get more mobile and more elusive guys and with ability than it is big guys that can stop the run.
Well, I love what you're saying. I hope it continues. We also love DraftKings here on the PHNX Cardinals podcast and JJ Watt, 2 things that we love. And they came together today in a series of hilarious tweets. You can go look at that. It has to do with a JJ Watt caption, throwing the football, interception by DraftKings, back and forth. But it ended with DraftKings Sportsbook. We're boosting the odds for you to make your first Super Bowl. This is in response to JJ Watt. For the next 24 hours on DraftKings Sportsbook, they will match the amount wagered on this market to the charity of Watt's choosing. So if you haven't seen that, you can get that on the DraftKings Sportsbook Twitter account. And of course, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and the NBA. Tonight, gentlemen, we have a Game 6, pivotal Game 6 at Boston. Who are you taking in this pivotal Game 6, Celtics or Warriors, Bo?
Just because I want to see Game 7. Let's go with Boston. But, I mean, Steph Curry, he doesn't make a 3 the last game, and they still win. It probably is going to be the Dubs. Let's bet with my mind, not my heart. I'm going to say the Dubs.
Taking Dubs, JB, and I'm going with Steph having at least 6 3-pointers, man, without a doubt.
Wow.
Klay Thomas, 6 threes is easy for a dude that just lets it fly. And I'm thinking Klay, my man, without a doubt, Klay has to have 4. Draymond's probably going to get fouled out in order for Boston to win.
I dislike both those picks. The Celtics are going to win tonight. They're the favorites. I also think Game 6 Klay is a thing. If you guys dating back to his historic performances, but I think right now we're going to have the opposite effect because the Golden State Warriors banned fake Klay Thompson from their arena. So now we're going to get the reversed effect where Klay Thompson's going to be terrible moving forward. So you can bet on all of this. You can't bet on fake Klay Thompson, but everybody else, participants in the game via the DraftKings Sportsbook app, join the finals action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can make any $5 NBA bet, get $150 in free bets instantly. Looking to turn another small bet into a big payday during the NBA Finals with DraftKings Same Game Parlay, you can do just that. Actually, this season, gentlemen, a customer placed a $5 Same Game Parlay and won over $5,000, which is crazy. That could be you tonight. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like which team's going to win, total threes made, as Mr. Frank just said, total rebounds, and more. And boom, you have a shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code PHNX. Make any $5 bet during the NBA Finals. Get $150 in free bets instantly. That's promo code PHNX, only at the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for more details.
I love when Johnny asks for our opinion and then just completely shoots it down.
Destroys it.
It's a staple of this show. Let's be honest.
That is facts.
Yeah, what do you guys think? Oh, it's shit. Whatever. I'm going with what I feel. No doubt about it. Now I feel like his PHNX bets partner Shane feels on a daily basis.
That's how we operate on PHNX bets. Yep.
So a proud Sun Devil, Pete Prisco, guy known, of course, of his analysis of the gridiron, the NFL, respected around the league as far as his opinion goes. He put out his top 100 players because we're in that, like with the Arizona Cardinals ending mandatory minicamp and mandatory minicamps ending around the league, and we have it like this ultimate hiatus. Like this is where the lists start to compile.
Ooh,
like,
I love a good list.
The NFL's like their top 100 list, like the JJ Watt had said like it's a joke, and a lot of the players are like this is a joke, and Arizona Cardinals continue to be disrespected. Pete Prisco, I want to see if you guys how you feel about his latest list. Here it is. Pete Prisco's top 100 NFL players of 2022. Budda Baker checking in. Is he the highest ranked Arizona Cardinal, Johnny?
He is. Formerly, it was DeAndre Hopkins last year, and I believe it was Chandler Jones this year. 58 would have been their highest rated player. But in terms of those guys wearing red and white, it's Budda Baker.
DeAndre Hopkins at 71, and then Kyler Murray, who's about to get a check for what $260+ million, $40 million plus a year, is 88th according to Pete Prisco. Not exactly giving the Cardinals much respect. 3 of 100 players he ranked here. So man, I don't even.
I'm totally blown away by this list. I think I'm just totally blown away by it. You're talking about a guy's about to make $50 million and he's in number 88. You got Lamar Jackson, 34, who's about to make the same amount of money, and he's number 34. Russell Wilson is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and he's number 42. You got to be kidding me. 40 million out of the top 20? Get the heck out of here. That blows my mind. I'm saying that's money based upon their performance. So you think they're not going to get better? And they're about to sign their contract now. So, like, that to me just doesn't add up to the fact that you thought that these guys are the top-tier players in the NFL. These are quarterbacks that should easily be paid. Once they get that money, that tells you they're the top players, at least top 5 in their position. And you don't even have in the top 10 in their position. It's crazy.
We're fortunate. This is not the worst list we've seen this offseason, Bo. We've seen horrific other lists this offseason. Who's the guy from ESPN who ranked Kyler Murray like 18th or 19th? Here's how I look at this list. There are two factors, right? Prisco has an agenda against Kyler Murray. He has never been pro Kyler Murray. Somebody put in the chat, Jordan P. Prisco gave the Cardinals a C- for that pick. So you have to separate that. He's got Kyler Murray as the 12th best quarterback in the NFL. And frankly, like for Prisco, that's pretty solid. Right, he's here are the quarterbacks he ranked above Kyler Murray. He's got Brady, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, and then of course the elites like Rodgers and those guys. I didn't even count those. So he's 12th overall. Take it or leave it. There's some fans that feel like that's accurate. I don't agree with that. Mm-hmm. I think his list of everything outside of quarterback, like he does his research. He does a good job for CBS, and he watches the tape. He was the guy once upon a time, because he's got ties to Arizona. He would always watch and say, hey, Adrian Wilson's really good. Hey, Darnell Dockett, Carlos Dansby, these guys are really good football players. So I think the bigger issue with this list is there are a lot of players on this list that the Cardinals could have drafted and didn't, and they're top players now. Like CeeDee Lamb, 57th overall. That would be Arizona's top player, right? The San Francisco 49ers have 5 players in the top 26. And Prisco's got no ties to San Francisco. He's not a San Francisco homer like we see from a lot of the media. That's more concerning, where it's like, hey, you could have had DK Metcalf. He's, top 50 on this list. You passed on him. Could have had Tristan.
How the hell
Wirfs,
is CeeDee Lamb ranked that high?
He's an ascending player, and he made a Pro Bowl last year.
Kyler Murray's not ascending? You have CeeDee Lamb.
You have to separate the
remember
Dallas? From all the
you remember
other
the
positions.
Dallas game? CeeDee Lamb was on the side of a milk carton when the Cardinals played Dallas. I mean, he was a non-factor in that game. I mean, and you have Dak Prescott ahead of him as well. I mean, come on. I mean, Kyler Murray's not going to, with, what was it, 14 seconds left, he's not going to run a draw play. He's smarter than that. I mean, this is, and the fact that Jalen Thompson isn't on this list, it makes me question, like, sure.
There are no honorable mentions for the Cardinals.
Like, either. if he recognized Dockett back in the day and he recognized A-Dub, like, good on that golf clap. But now you're not recognizing the talent on this team right now. Like, Jalen Thompson over 100 tackles, 4 picks, you know, what he's able to do, set the tone. You're not watching Cardinal football. You're not recognizing that, yeah, he's a big-time player in this league. He's about to probably be paid like one. You know, to just have 3 guys on there, it's you're just not paying attention to a team that won 11 games, and they really didn't. Who
else deserves
Chandler
to be on
Jones.
This list then, other than JT, for you?
I think as far as what I think, James Conner deserves to be on this list as far as top 100. Like, he should crack the century mark, no doubt about it. You score 18 touchdowns in an NFL season. You can turn your nose up on like what the situation was or whatever. He still found pay dirt 18 times. You know, I just think that you can make some concessions for, you know, all these guys that are ranked in the top 100. But what really matters is guys producing each and every Sunday. And the Cardinals produce for the most part outside of the slump at the end of the season.
Humphreys was on these kind of lists last year. He had a you know, a step back season. Hopefully he ascends again. But I'm with you. Like, other than Jalen Thompson and James Conner, though, I mean, Hollywood Brown's not a top 100 player yet. I think he will. I think he'll be a lot of these next year. But I think you lose Chandler Jones, right? You know, Rodney Hudson once upon a time would have been on a list like this. Now we don't know. His status is iffy, right? I think this goes to show you that the critics of the Cardinals are right in the sense that they can band-aid a lot of holes, right? They traded for DeAndre Hopkins. They got one elite season, and now he's going to have back-to-back seasons where it's not ideal, right? Because the injury last year, suspension this year. Traded for Rodney Hudson with a third-round pick, a player who was over 30. He was okay. It was good last year. Now MIA. I think the organizations that are doing it right, for the most part, they're hitting on draft picks. Cardinals haven't done that enough yet. And that's how you get cemented in these lists. And you can get grandfathered in, and players are overvalued because of, you know, the attention of what they've done, you know, yesteryear. But like Micah Parsons and Justin Jefferson were drafted, you know, a couple years apart, 1 year apart, and they're top 25 players in the NFL now. The Cardinals don't do enough of that. And I think that is how you develop sustained success, and that's how you get players on this list. I think I agree with you, Bo. I think James Conner is a top 100 player, but I think most people would just feel like, oh, second team, Cardinal team, we're going to throw that away. If this is his first team maybe, and the Cardinals drafted him, he came out of nowhere, I think it hits differently.
I guess if you want to put all those qualifiers on it, if you're in, I don't know why you wouldn't just, if you think he's a top 100 player, he's a top 100 player. I don't know. I just think people, they get last. It's paralysis by overanalysis.
It is.
Like, is a team good? I mean, it's not just good because of Kyler Murray. It's not just good because DeAndre Hopkins, and it's not just good because of Budda Baker. It's beyond that. You know, I know they're very top heavy. There's not a ton of depth, and as far as the case against drafting, absolutely. Like, they could do themselves a service, Frank. Yeah, by drafting better.
So here's a question I got to ask. So I think when you think about the top 100 list, I always think about players that can transcend any team. Like, I could, like you put Cooper Kupp at number 5. You should be able to let Cooper Kupp leave here, go to Jacksonville, and can he put up 145 catches? Maybe, maybe not. Tyreek Hill, he's a top receiver. He's somewhere in the top. He's in the top 20. When he leaves there, he went to Miami. Will he put those same numbers up that he's been putting up? But even when we look at the quarterbacks, and you can do it, the running backs, the offensive line, the D line, he's tried to cover a plethora and not just be skilled. 10. I mean, like, okay, for a long time. I get that. But these guys got to be able to transcend. When we talk about the top 100, I need to see that these guys can transcend and go someplace else and play, dominate, and bring their game to the next level, whatever situation they're in. That tells me you're the top 100. Anything else outside of that, when we start talking about, I needed to be in the right system, he needs to have the right players around him, give him the right defense, give him all the 5-star defense from Alabama so he can be a great defensive coach. That's stupid. You're not. You just need great players. That's not no. You should be able to transcend wherever you are if you're going to be in the top 100 when there's 150 players on 30 teams. That's 600 players in the NFL, or 675 players in the NFL, and you got 100. Those guys need to be the top that can transcend anywhere on any team at any given scenario.
The Cardinals could use two players in particular to be on this list this time next year. Isaiah Simmons, if you want to call him a success as a top 10 pick,
sure,
needs to be a top 100 player, bar none, no questions asked. And then I would also include Hollywood Brown in that, because you're giving up a first round pick. I would say maybe in the next column is somebody like a Byron Murphy, who a lot of us like, but I would agree with he's not there yet. Simmons to me is like the standout of, okay, he's getting all this press right now. Minicamp, I'm a leader, I'm this, I'm that. Okay, you need to have a gaudy season.
Sure.
You need to play almost 100% of the snaps. You're not coming off. You're starting every game. You're not being sat in playoff games, right? Interceptions, tackles for losses, sacks. Because then I think we can all just say, at least Isaiah Simmons panned out. At least we feel good about we didn't waste a top 10 pick when we could have had Tristan Wirfs or CeeDee Lamb staring right at us. We would all breathe a lot easier if we had a known commodity in Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think J.J. Watt, too. I mean, I know that he's at the end of his career, but he has to have, in order for the Arizona Cardinals to be successful, he's going to have to dial it up as far as, what he was able to do, in yesteryear, and that's get after the quarterback, because Chandler Jones, as we've mentioned several times in this podcast, is no longer wearing a Cardinals uniform. He's now making a ton of money for the Las Vegas Raiders. Frank mentioned transcendent. Let's talk about something that's very transcendent. Four Peaks. I mean, it plays in all 50 states. It would play in other countries. It's just fantastic quality brewing. It's and talk about transcending a brewery. It's got some good food as well. It's got a fantastic menu. Me and producer Jacob, we went there for lunch yesterday after mini camp. I had the chicken rolls. He had the chicken tendies because he's 8 years old. But even when you're having a child's meal, it's still quality. But he also boosted it up by having, a wow beer, just like I'm having right now. And they've got fantastic beer, incredible beer. It's like it's their calling card, and it's woven into the fabric of Arizona since 1996. Of course, 21 and over, you have to drink responsibly. You're dealing with Four Peaks, and we're pumped to be partnered with them. Unbelievable that we have this partnership with this incredible brewery and restaurant. Find it in the airport. You can find it, I think, at Chase Field. They got the tap room there. And of course, 8th Street, the old OG brick and mortar Four Peaks. We're all about it.
We are also all about staying healthy at PHNX. We've got so much fun stuff on the docket, but we want to make sure everybody's feeling good for a playoff season in 2022. So if you want to come party with us at our tailgate events, hopefully our future PHNX bar in downtown, wherever we have it, get a COVID-19 vaccine so you're not hacking up a lung in front of somebody else, right? We want everybody feeling good. COVID-19 vaccines are free for everybody 5 and up. Those 12 and older are also eligible for the new booster. Again, we just want everybody feeling good. We're all about feeling good here at PHNX. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location near you. Again, visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location nearest to you. This stuff's starting to pop up again with COVID. We want everybody feeling okay. So protect yourself and get vaccinated if you could.
Our guy Max set up Four Peaks, just an incredible deal that was struck to partner, this partnership. And it was funny. I was working today. I was on social media. I was on Twitter. You could follow all of us, of course, on the Bird. And I was tweeting out some things I saw yesterday, and what's going on with the Arizona Cardinals and Rodney Hudson. And I was working, and then my wife comes in and she's like, "Hey, what are you working on?" And our guy Max was tweeting out, soup that he was enjoying that day. And I was about to blow Max up by saying, there's an excessive heat warning today. And what are you tweeting about soup? Like, it's not a food fit for a 106-degree day. And she looked at me like, "You're an ass. I'm here. I'm raising our child, and you're tweeting about soup." But I felt like it was a fair point, Johnny.
Well, is he eating it inside?
Yeah, he was.
I'm not against. Do you drink hot coffee in the morning?
I do. Well, no, I've actually switched to cold brew.
I think a lot of people, though. I mean, I think if it's inside, you don't have a point. If he's out, if he's in the lobby, the parking garage of our building in downtown Phoenix, and he's eating soup like on a park bench, then you have it. Then you have an agenda. Then you have a point. But if you're inside, I mean, I have air conditioning in my home, so I'm
not against the hot meal, but I think soup is a winter meal.
What kind of soup was it? Do you know?
It was like a dumpling soup. Like if it was February, I would say, hey, that looks great. But it's June, and
dumpling is borderline like ramen, which is year round. I would say if it was like a white chili or something like that, I would.
If it's a gazpacho, I'm all on board there. I mean, it's a chilled soup.
Maybe a lobster bisque. I just had lobster bisque in Vegas. It was fantastic.
Yo, stop it. This is Arizona. You can eat what you want to eat year round. You're gonna drink it down anyway with some cold, fresh 4 Peaks anyway. So what are we talking about?
Producer Leah says it was matzo ball. It was matzo ball soup.
Oh, all right.
That's pretty heavy for middle of June. All right, I'm on both sides now.
Thank you.
Some matzo ball soup in the middle of July.
Some Italian wedding or something. Come on.
Oh, y'all are terrible.
Maybe some gabagool. All right. He's also not feeling well, by the way. I think that's why he was eating it.
Oh, is that what he was doing? He was going.
Yeah. Leah's giving me all the facts now. We are all made to feel bad about making him.
I don't feel bad. I stand by. That. No, don't tweet me your soup picks in June when we're all living here roasting in Arizona.
I love it here. I love being in 115 degree heat injected into my veins. I also love all of you in the chat. I love everybody on this program. If you want to continue supporting this program, check out gophnx.com. The fabulous work of myself, my many talented peers. You can also check out the PHNX merchandise locker. We are all deck out in our gear. The hottest hat in the Valley this summer, this PHNX lid right here that I rep as often as I can. You can pick it up for just under $30. Become a member at gophnx.com. Pick up one of these fresh Cardinal tees like what Frank's got, the bird on the ball. I got this red one that I love, Rise Up Red Sea. Bo's going with the classic traditional. You can get any of these shirts for free if you become a member, just under $60 for the entire year. Hang out with us at the member Discord. We are primed and ready, gentlemen, to take off for PHNX Cardinals season 2. We don't have an off season here, but we do because we own the off season. But our actual kickoff to this year happens in August, and we could not be more excited for that.
Yeah, and it might not be soup season, but it's always in season for OGs. And OGs actually has a limited edition seasonal flavor. It's pina colada, which is perfect for the summer months. I mean, it just trumps any kind of soup combination.
Matzo ball soup.
It's the perfect pineapple, creamy coconut blend. It's just in time for those summer road trips and pool parties. No, it's not a boiling hot bowl of soup. It's a refreshing pina colada gummy. Speaking of pool parties, OGs has just announced it's taking over Maya Day Club in Scottsdale this month on June 25th. Johnny, he got the go ahead. He got his permission slip signed. He's going to the pool party at Maya. He's gonna enjoy it.
Woo! Can I have my shirt right now? Can I go right now? No, sorry, just kidding.
You gotta wait a couple days. Less than 10 days away. Be sure to say what's up to us, the PHNX crew. Some of our PHNX crew will be out there, including Johnny Venerable. Hopefully our guy Frank Sanders, because he's going to be asking, hey, you got those creamsicle gummies out here? Of course they're going to have it. OGs, they always have it. Check out OGs Brands online, ogsbrands.com, or on Instagram. They're on IG, OGs Brands. That's at OGs Brands. You can also find their products at your local dispensary. You must be 21 years or older to purchase.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, gentlemen. Steve Keim, he's got a lot to do. He's got a lot to comb over here in the final weeks before the start of training camp.
Isn't he bald head?
Not comb over, literally.
Oh,
take it. I respect Steve because he does shave his head. He's not rocking the George Costanza comb over. But now, I mean,
like the old Cardinals, Tony Kornheiser.
Probably not a good sign. The Cardinals need to get better before the start of training camp, and that's what we're trying to do here every day at PHNX Cardinals. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. We will be back mañana for our Friday show. I just saw somebody in the comments said draft candy bars. We like to do drafts on a Friday. Hey, maybe we'll run with that. But until then, for Bo Brock, Frank Sanders, I'm Johnny Venerable. See you mañana. Bye, everybody.